Hello and welcome everybody. How are you today? Hello, hello. Can you see me? There you are. Hello. So happy to be here with you all today. Welcome. Thank you so much for your presence, for your attention, for coming back to these live sessions. If you are part of our community and if you're new here today, let me welcome you personally and say thank you so much for finding us and for registering for this event. I think you're really going to like it, this live event today. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Dayana Pereira. I am a Feldenkrais practitioner and high performance coach. For the last 13 years, I've been working with individuals and groups. And what I am excited about and what I'm here to share is how to become the best, better version of ourselves, how to access our full potential. I do this through a series of disciplines that I have studied over the course of the last 20 years, mainly the Feldenkrais method, but also physiology training, breath work, meditation, mindset training, cold and heat exposure, and many more modalities that I combine or integrate into my work. Why? Because we are an integrated mind, body, and heart or emotions organism, so not one approach only fits the human, the wholeness that the human is. And that I found through trial and error working with a lot of people over the course of my professional life. So I would love to say for you today, this is going to be a little more interactive session today. Many times, if you're familiar with my work, I guide you with my voice through practices, both movement practices and or breathing practices. So, and you can check those out in my page if you're not familiar with my work. Please go after the live and take a look at the page, subscribe, follow, and take a look at the other sessions I have there. Most of them are in audio format. But today what I would like to do is a little more interactive. Why? Because we're going to be talking about walking. And walking is something that is for some people, we take it for granted because we do it all the time. And you'll be amused to know that one thing I hear a lot from the people I work with is they say, I'm learning how to walk all over again. I'm relearning how to walk. So I realized is that there's a high educational component in this topic. It's not like back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain, which we do sometimes, where you can just lie down and bliss out as we do the movements, and then when you get up you will feel the difference. For walking, because it's something that we have more ingrained, if you think about it, you've been doing this since probably age 1. So I don't know how old you are, but you have patterns embedded in walking that are very, very, very old. As old as your brain pretty much was in the world exploring, right? If you got lucky, you got to crawl. If not, you are pushed to walk, and ever since you've been on 2 legs. So we have a little bit more unlearning to do and relearning to do, which is one of my favorite things. So for that, I will invite you to stay close to the computer, chat if you have a question. I will be presenting a couple concepts, and then we're gonna do an experience so you get to feel them, and then we're gonna get up and from the chair, for example, or the floor, and perhaps a little bit more concepts, and then we will integrate everything at the end. So I would love this to be interactive. Great. Very much enjoying. Awesome. I love your comments because then I can totally see that you're catching up and you're with me with this. So yeah, if you need to leave in half an hour, you probably will do most of it anyway. I want to keep these sessions to 45 minutes maximum, so we have time for Q&A. But the practice itself will be about 20 minutes, okay? So let me say a couple things. Why is it important to think about walking in 2 legs, right? We are the only animal that we know that walk in 2 legs versus most animals that walk in 4 legs, with the exception of, we could say, kangaroos and some other bipeds, but they don't do what we do, right? They don't move the way we move. So there's a biomechanical, an architecture of our body that sustains this, that is designed to keep us upright in gravity. If you think about it, gravity is pushing us all the time down. It's a force that is pushing down in our, from we don't really feel it because we are used to it, but we constantly have to absorb the force of gravity through our skeleton. And we are designed from if you look at the anatomy, from the ground up, feet, knees, hips, pelvis, spine, and head, to withhold that pressure and to balance it, to counterbalance it. Otherwise, we would be collapsed, right? But our skeleton is designed to counteract the forces of gravity, and with proper alignment, we don't have any pain, we don't have any discomfort. So when I titled this session Effortless Walking, that's what I meant. Happy steps, meaning that you can go for long walks without pain. Your knees won't suffer, your neck won't suffer, your back won't suffer. You won't have to take lots of rests. And or if you're going uphill, also you will have a way to cope, right? And we're gonna do that from understanding the anatomy of our legs and how they interact with the pelvis, the importance of the glutes, and how to keep our spine in proper alignment once the legs are organized. And we like to say the word organized is a very technical word in the Feldenkrais world. But by that we mean in alignment. We mean the most optimal way. Dr. Feldenkrais, who created this work, and I won't go into that because I don't want this to be all technical, so you can look that up. You can go on my page, look for more information, find my website on my page, and I have a lot of information there. He was a physicist, and he was very, very clear that optimal posture, is some organization of our body that allows you to move in any direction without hesitation and without preparation. I'm gonna say that again. Move in any direction. So let's say you wanna take a step forward if you're walking, or walk backwards, yeah? Or you wanna get up from a chair without hesitation, so you don't have any extra movement, and without preparation. So you don't have to do 2-3 steps prior to do whatever you wanna do. That would be optimal biological posture. So in order to apply that to walking, I wanna invite you to look at your own posture from the side, right? And sometimes I demonstrate most times I don't, but today I will demonstrate a little bit with myself. And you can do this at home with a broom if you don't have a stick. Think that the gravitational force is pushing down your body, pushing off the top of your head, and wants to go straight down through the axis, right, to the central column of your body, which is the spine. So what happens when you are a little bit behind that optimal place of the middle, right? What happens when you're carrying yourself a little behind? And what happens when you're carrying yourself a little forward? And if you do this with me right now, just don't worry about the stick. The stick is just, the dowel is so you can see. Can you see? Yeah. But do it yourself, like go a little bit behind as you stand. Behind what? Behind the center of your body, and feel how immediately your thighs contract, your toes might be gripping on the floor because you feel falling, right? If all the weight is on your heels. This is not so common, but I want to bring it up so you feel the contrast. Most commonly, we are a little bit forward. If we're lucky, we're forward completely, like as a plane, but most people are forward because they're folded forward and flexed. And in any case, what that does, and you can play with this motion, so just bring your weight forward a little bit, creates an immediate response from your lower back. It's a reflex. And it traps all the musculature around the lower back, gripping around the spine so you don't fall on your face, right? So none of those are really efficient because they keep you off balance. So that is in the greatest picture, how we want to position our head on top of the rest of the structure, right? So you want to find a position where your head is slightly in front of your pelvis perhaps, but not so forward that you're falling. So your head will never be in front of the big toe, right? So that's the main thing you want to consider, especially if your tendency is to roll forward and collapse, and you'll notice immediately your lower back beginning to work extra hard. So that is not effortless. One other thing I want to mention is that in this chain of support that we find from our feet up, feet, knees, hips, into the spine, The glutes play a huge role. If you look at the glutes in any anatomy book, you will see that our buttocks are made of several layers of muscle, and they're big and they're powerful. It's probably one of the most powerful muscle groups in our whole body, right? Along with this, the abdomen and the thighs, but the layers and the effectiveness of the muscles of the buttocks to control our legs is amazing. So we're gonna practice that next. I'm gonna ask you to put the hands on your glutes, if that's okay for you, just the palms of your hands, and squeeze them a little bit, like feel that the flesh, and squeeze them a little bit with your hands and see that you can't really do much. They're bigger than your palms. So now keep the palms there. Let a little space inside your knees. We're standing, by the way. I'm standing, you're standing, I hope. So using your palms on your glutes for witnessing, just for sensing, and you can close your eyes or not. Now contract the glute a little bit, just the glute, as if you're making a little fist, as if you could squeeze the glutes, and use your hands there to notice that that's a way more powerful motion. You can feel it. If you have an injury, that's okay. Right now, we're not gonna do large movements. We're just gonna align your legs. So this shouldn't hurt at all. This is, in Feldenkrais, we move within without pain. So you wanna move in small amounts, and this, by the way, wouldn't create any pain at all. So notice what happens. Exactly. Notice what happens when you contract your glutes behind or under your hands, and that they kind of begin to tighten a little bit, and then you release them. If your knees are locked, this doesn't work so well, so create a little space in your knees by unfolding, right? Bending a little, and notice. What begins to happen is not only that your glutes begin to contract, but your thighs also move. Can you see? Can you feel? You don't have to look down. There's nothing to see with your eyes, it's internally. So what happens is now your legs begin to outer rotate a little bit. Can you tell? So close your eyes and take several rests as you repeat this motion of contracting the glutes and releasing them. And notice that your legs begin to turn out a little bit, right? And maybe you notice that your feet also move. Your feet begin to move where their bone positioning is, and the bones of the outer parts of the foot move a little, and there's a little lift in the arch, perhaps. Again, all of this is anatomically possible. It will depend on your own structure. If you have foot injuries or surgery, you may not sense as much. So see what you can sense and take breaks. Yeah, the knees get involved, exactly. The knees move, the thigh bone moves, the tibia and the fibula, the bones of the lower leg move, all of that moves. And what that is doing is aligning your leg for optimal positioning as you put weight on them. What that is doing, your glutes are organizing your legs, are rearranging your legs so they are more able to withhold the pressure from gravity. And the weight that you're gonna be putting on these legs, yes, is not gonna be going inward because of the motion of the legs. If you can feel the outer rotation a little bit, it's gonna be going more through the middle of the leg. The middle of the leg. So pause for a moment. Take a look. I do this with my clients all the time. This is your leg. This is a skeletal leg. This is the hip. And this is the head of the femur, right? This is the hip joint. And this is the femur or the thigh bone. And this is your knee and your kneecap. And this is the lower leg, two bones, one very large, one very thin. And this is your foot. And the movement we're just doing with the buttocks, it's creating a little bit of that, a little bit of that. So it basically organizes your leg so there's more force traveling through the middle of the leg versus nothing. When you do nothing, which is what we do all the time, we walk, our glutes are weak, we don't even use them, all that force from gravity and from the ground meeting gravity is going in the inner part of the leg. So for most people, the pain they feel when they walk or they go up the stairs is right here in the inner part of the knee. Okay, so with that realignment, what we do is we create a little outer rotation, and more of the middle of the leg is available. And isn't this important? It's just as important as having your spine in alignment and not forward and not back. It's just that this is not inward, it's outward, okay? So why do I bring this up? Because obviously when you're walking and after a long time not using your glutes, they might feel weak, and we don't even remember we have them. So we're gonna practice this. We're gonna practice it in standing. Only one client that I've ever worked with could not fire his glutes. He said it was a condition called amnesic glutes, and I had to look it up. I couldn't believe it. But most people can after a little bit of practice. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is today and several times a day, if you wanna really do practical things about this and not just have to do an hour-long session, we're gonna do 5 minutes a day, and then you will see the difference. Exactly. I love Livia, that comment is great. So 5 minutes a day to begin with, and then you add up. When do I practice this? I have a standing desk. So sometimes when I'm standing, when I'm doing dishes, when I'm cooking, when I'm at the line in the supermarket, when I am waiting for something, okay? So that's when you practice. One side is stronger, very good point, and Luisa, very good point. You can see under your legs, one side is stronger. Most likely the leg that you feel more stable on, and we could spend a long time with that, but I won't today because for the sake of time, you feel more stable usually on one side of your body, and that leg is more developed, and that glute will fire more. So you can notice that and maybe perhaps give the other one a chance, just relearn. Again, I said at the beginning, this takes a lot of education, unlearning and relearning. Unlearning what? We're unlearning how to collapse our arches, right? That's something that is not sustainable. Over time, it creates bunions, creates pain on your knees, closes your hips, all kinds of dysfunction. So we're unlearning how to not to let our arches collapse, and relearning how to create more arch support, better alignment of the knees, and these hips that suddenly, because they are now slightly outer rotated, they will push into the pelvis in the perfect angle. Again, this I could give you 45 minutes of technical information. I won't. All you need to know is that as you practice this firing of the glutes with your knees slightly bent, it's easier in standing, it's a little less easy in sitting, but you can do it as well. You will be putting your legs in perfect position. Next step. When we practice this, should we force our feet to face forward? I've noticed I've dug feet. Yeah. So work with your structure. If you can let your legs, your feet be in the shoulder width, and the toes pointed forward is ideal. Again, you want to work with where you are, right? So that retraining, again, there's a lot of lessons in my page that address that. Feet positioning, one of them is called Relieve Low Back Pain with Movement, where you can use that session to realign your feet with practice. Begin where you are. Accept your body the way it is, and train it to work most efficiently with what you have right now. And the retraining is a patient work. Yeah? So what is the next step? As we're walking, we're gonna plug this in. So please face yourself now sideways, so you don't walk towards the camera, and take a step and notice, just come back. So just one step in place, yeah? And notice if you wanna contract the right glute or the left. Just see which one is available for you to squeeze, right? Just a little squeeze, and then put it back. Just a step, and then switch the legs, take a little break. We're just taking one step in place, and then notice which glute wants to contract. So whatever we just did, we're plugging it in. And for me, it's the leg that is behind. that is available, is easy. Yeah? Okay. So just notice that and see what happens with your sense of height, length, and power. So when I do it without firing the glute, I kind of feel like wobbly and a little bit weak, and my height feels the same. The moment I contract my glute, I feel like, ooh, like I got an umph, as if I got a little help from behind, which is really what is happening. All that musculature is moving your leg and propulsing you forward. Okay, so just that for now. Noticing, taking rest, shaking if you get tired, switching over, only one step in place. And see which glute is available for work. Just a little work, not any work that will hurt, but just enough work that you feel, oh, now I feel more supported, maybe my core feels more active, my front and back of the body feels engaged. It's a nice feeling. So switch over, see if you can find it on the side that is less easy. Just pretending, I'm not even stepping, but I'm just going from back foot to the front. I'm gonna show you if I can, if you can see my feet. I'm just taking one little step. And as I take a step, I actually have a hand on my glutes so I can feel, and I just notice what happens. I'm not even lifting the foot behind me, just noticing that I can fire the glute on both sides. And I get taller, and I feel there's a lift. Okay, so just that for now, until you can find it on both legs. And now let it go. And see that when you do it again in standing, it's a lot easier. It's always gonna be more challenging in motion, right? But when you do it now still, say you're at the register, you're waiting, or you're at home doing something, and you can practice this. And if you do it with both at the same time, it's even easier. Yeah? Okay, so last step for right now. So we have 3 steps I want to give you, simple, so you can remember. 1, position of the head, so you're not behind. You can imagine the middle of your body is your column. If you're a sculpture, this is the column. It's called vertebral column for a reason, guys, anatomically. The spine is your pillar, right? It's an axis where all the movement is possible. Turning, bending, folding, side bending, right? All of that we explore in other sessions you see in my page. So first of all, reminding yourself that the head is at the top and not in front, too far, and not too far back. It's actually slightly in front, but not too much. So that's a nuance. For now, let's keep it at the top. Yeah? You can imagine there's a string pulling you, like a little puppeteer. And now you prepare yourself for a step and practice the glute. Letting your knees be soft. The knees are springs. The knees are shock absorbers. So we don't want the knees locked. We don't want the knees tight. Yeah? And when I say practice one step, I'm going to show you again. You just take one step in place, and with the head at the top just pulled from the string, you just practice this motion. Right? It's a study of walking that we're doing, so then you can do it faster. But first we want to study. The back glute fires, and now you have most of the weight in the front. By the way, when you're doing this, I want you to feel, if you can, I would love you to feel that the back foot is really propulsing you forward. Have you ever seen runners in the Olympics or something where they have this position where the back foot is behind them and they boom, leap forward? That exact motion you can find yourself in walking. It's just awareness that the back foot is there. We tend to take a step and immediately lift the back foot, lift the heel, and just go on with the next step. If you slow down the walk enough, you do it very, very slowly, almost in slow motion, you have a chance to lift your heel very, very lightly and then keep the toes on the ground and feel the propulsion of the back foot. So let's do that together again. I hope you like my lemon socks. So you're gonna just take a foot and notice that your tendency may be to immediately pick up the heel and take the next step. So slow it down. We're walking and standing today, working and walking. So slow it down enough that you very slowly, like if you're moving inside of molasses, you let your heel lift but not the toes, right? And instead of firing the glutes right now, just pay attention that that foot can push you forward like an athlete, like a runner. And shake it and switch to the other foot. You're taking an imaginary step. Very slowly let the heel come up and notice that the toes, all of the toes, are able to lift you. They work in balance, but they also push. Okay, so the back foot. For now, that's all. We can do a part 2 where I can talk about the alignment of the knee over the foot as we go forward. There's much more to cover. But if you only today remember to keep your head at the top of the spine and not in front, so you're not falling, right? And your lower back gets a break. If you practice your glute motion and firing those glutes, I mean, we're gonna have beautiful toned muscle at the end of a month practicing this. Can you imagine? And then if you add to that, so we're layering, yeah? You add that the back foot is supporting you. We immediately decompress the spine. Yeah, so without going into more and more detail, I don't want to overwhelm you. I know it's a lot to take in. So even just that would allow you to use muscle work instead of force or not knowing what you're doing. So immediately we engage with awareness. You lift yourself using the glute. Your legs will be organized by themselves without you thinking too much about it. And you push yourself or propulse yourself forward with the back foot. And you will notice you get taller. So you're decompressing your spine. And it's most likely to decompress also your knees and to create more space there, so you will have less pain if that's what happens. Something very similar can be used to go up the stairs, to go uphill, right? Anytime that you're going against gravity, you want to have that support from the back, and you want to have that back foot propulse you up, okay? Questions. So with the leg forward, is the right glute? Yes. So is the back leg the one that is pushing off, the one that is contracting the glute, and the one that is firing and propulsing? The front leg is the one that is taking the step, is where your whole body is now shifting, so it's taking on the weight, right? At the time where your weight comes forward, you're most of your weight is on the front foot, so that leg is really not really available to fire or propulse you. That is just holding you. Is keeping your weight in place. Yeah? And like I said, there's more detail that we could go on to if you want to. If you like this, let me know and I can do more. We can do a part 2 where we see, okay, what do we do with all that weight in the front leg, right? There's many things we can do with that. Most people would put it on the big toe and then we have these huge bunions. But at the very least, if you're practicing firing the glutes with both legs at the same time at home, in standing, you begin to retrain your legs to be a little bit outwardly rotated, a little bit arches up, and that takes the pressure off the knees and off the big toes. The excessive pressure, I would say, not all of it. We want to keep all our toes on the ground. So I'm not taking the pressure off completely, but excessive pressure so you don't develop bunions and pain on your feet. It feels like a circular push up and forward from the back glute. Yes, exactly. Great job. It's a push up and forward through the leg. Yes, which I like to think of, because sometimes when we think something from a different perspective, you change the experience completely. I like to think of that same thing you just described, Livia, as the floor is actually lifting you. Yeah, you're using your body, definitely. But if you think about it as an image, what a beautiful image. Like Thich Nhat Hanh that said that you walk as if you're kissing the earth, right? We don't want to walk and pound. We want to walk as if we're kissing the earth with our feet, right? Beautiful image. So this is another lovely image. You're walking as if the earth could lift you, because it is. It's a push-up, right? You're pushing off the ground, and the ground is receiving that and giving you the exact and opposite force up, and you eventually feel like the floor is lifting you. So gravity is not pushing you only. Yeah, there's a dance. Any other questions? I love to see we're 49 right now, so most people have been with us most of the time. If you have any questions, this is a great time. We covered 3 main techniques today, or little tips, or what to do to have more effortless walking. Beautiful. Thank you. Then one question came up. Hold on. Does this technique help with balance? Definitely, yes. In many ways. Many ways. The easiest answer would be yes, because we're retraining our body, right? Through awareness, we're using our skeleton, our musculature, and our nervous system in a more organized way and a more effective way. So definitely that helps with balance very practically, right? You can do a lesson like this, and I have more relaxing ones where you just lie down and do movements, and when you get up, you feel like your balance is different, and after a while you see that it's better, right? So there's a retraining aspect that improves it. Also, because there's something called proprioception, which is the ability that we have to know where we are in space, very, very developed in children as we begin to explore the world. And we sometimes lose ability or lose connection to that as we age, because we don't do anything about it. We are so used to our bodies always knowing where we are in space. So through this work, we continue developing proprioception. So we would work with closed eyes and tracking hands and knees. If you do my sessions, you'll see what I mean. And that's how you develop more refined proprioception. So that improves your balance as well. Thank you. Donation do not show. I know some people are having trouble with donations. I'm so sorry about that. And I hope if these videos get reviewed by the Insight Timer developers, a few people have messaged me with that problem, that their donations don't come through for some reason. That is unfortunate, and I hope we could figure that out. The other way to support, guys, for those of you that can donate, or if the donations are not coming through, is go to the page and share it. Yeah, I love to do that because it's an easy way of supporting. You can share in your communities. You can share with your friends, with your families. So if something that I'm sharing here, teaching or communicating, is helpful in any way, I do some practices for calm, presence, gratitude, creation. I do some practices to get us out of pain or into more enjoyable movements. Anything, right? If anything that I do is supportive of you, it probably supports somebody else. So that's one way to give back, by supporting others, and you give back to me because my work reaches more people, which is my mission. I want to empower a lot of people with this because it transformed my life when I was 18 years old, and I've been doing it ever since. I'm 46 now, so it's the work of my life. Any other questions? Was this helpful? Can you give me a little yes or feedback, or put a 1 on the chat or something if you liked it? Yeah? Yeah, practice is key. Remember last time you learned something, musical instruments, sport, language, you had to practice a little, huh? If you don't practice, it's like you forget, lose it, use it or lose it, right? So the only way to let something in at the brain level, you fire neurons together, they wire together, before you know it, is something new that you know, and like learning how to ride a car, bicycle, you don't have to think about it, it's just there for you. So that's the capacity of our brains. This is what I do because I'm fascinated with how amazing our brain is and the full potential that is possible. So as you practice this glute retraining and you plug it into your walking, you're gonna feel less pain. You're gonna be more vital, have more endurance, go for longer walks without discomfort. And also perhaps you feel more stronger and more powerful also in the core, because front and back of the body work together. So as you use your glutes, you will also be tilting the pelvis in a very nice way, releasing the abdomen, lengthening the spine, all kinds of lovely side benefits, especially as you put it into your movement, into your walking or going up the stairs. Play with it. Play with it in sitting. See what is possible when you sit down. If you have a tendency to collapse your arches in sitting, and that is creating a little hip something crunchiness, practice using your glutes in sitting, and then see that that changes the whole way the legs position themselves. Yeah, don't need to worry if you have it down. Anami, what a beautiful name. What happens is that at the very beginning, when you're exposed to new learning, you are a little confused. So bypass that need to get it all right and to remember everything, and just work with, play with it. Yes. Worst can happen is that you overdo it and you're gonna feel a little strain, and then you do less. But because this is almost like homeopathic medicine, you don't need too much of these movements, you just need to do them often. If you do too much, you get sore, not the point. The point is to do them enough, frequently enough, that they become part of your movement repertoire. Just one more word that you know how to say and use will be for your body, right? One more thing that you're thinking about. Maybe it's just knowing that the back foot can push you forward, right? And now you have a little extra oomph when you're taking a step. Even that could help you, even just that. So no worries about getting all of it. Just get one thing that clicks, do it again, okay? Whatever resonated with you, do it again, bring it back. And before you know it, it will be part of the way you move, okay? All right, my dears, unless you have another question, another donation, or a request, I take requests. The best way to make a request is to send me a message. I am available for messages on my profile, so you can send me a little message there. I get them. Somebody recently requested a rotator cuff lesson or session for recovery from rotator cuff injury, and I already booked that for March. So I love to hear requests. My mission is to serve and share. So if I can do anything for you, please let me know. Balance, wonderful. This is your first time hearing about Feldenkrais, very inspiring. Thank you so much, Livia. Yeah, it's a beautiful body of work. It's a lovely, lovely practice because it uses subtle movements, and it works mainly with the brain and the nervous system. So if you're in pain, if you are, limited in your movement, you can still do a lot and feel the benefits without going into further pain or further discomfort, or you don't have to do large range. We get there. Some lessons we roll on the floor and we do all kinds of fantastic big movements. But we always start with something small and subtle, because that captures the attention of the brain, and the brain begins to, rewire itself in real time. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you. Learning so much, retraining your body and posture. Yes, and you know what else? Guys, the emotions, right? The thinking and the emotions follow the body. So what happens is we begin with the body because the body is easy. The body is just here, is right? You can touch, you can feel. It's such a lovely vehicle, right? It's almost like an astronaut suit. So we begin with the body. We retrain the body. We get used to how it operates. What are the patterns? We acknowledge the patterns and unlearn some of them, keep some of them, retrain, learn new ones. And before you know it, just like I was sharing that image of letting the ground lift you, we begin to think about something a different way. Could be walking, could be sitting, could be lying down, could be moving into the world, and begin to think and rewire our thinking patterns. And before you know it, the emotions follow the mind, right? The mind follows the body, and the emotions follow the mind many times. Last time you woke up and you said, oh, I'm tired today, or I'm cranky, then suddenly you start feeling that, right? The thoughts create emotions sometimes. So once our mind is in a better perspective, in a more open to the new emotions come up. So sometimes we release old emotions, sometimes we reaffirm new positive ones, and all because we are retraining our minds and retraining our bodies. So it's a beautiful chain reaction. Not always happens in that order. Sometimes we might be doing a movement that triggers an emotional response and you feel like crying or laughing. It's a beautiful thing. So the whole point to say our mind and bodies are connected and interconnected, right? So that's how I like to look at this. Compassionate side of treating our bodies and nervous system, definitely. Yeah, compassion is built in because just remember last time that you were hurt or injured and you were trying to do something and you couldn't, right? So imagine you hurt your shoulder and you're trying to reach for that top cabinet and you can. Or if you had a child or have ever seen a child that can't do something, they feel like they can't, right? That sense of limitation. What worked at that time was not to push harder and to say, bad, you can't do that, you bad thing, right? Or to scorn the child or to just reinforce that sense of limitation. What actually worked for the child and for you was to nurse, right? To hold, to support, and to say, it's okay. Maybe we do it this way. Maybe we use the other arm, or maybe we put a stool until we recover from the injury, right? And then we begin to recover slowly. So that idea of supporting first what's present and holding it works very beautifully at the emotional level. It works very beautifully at the mental level because it doesn't create that sort of defensiveness or resistance. So try it with a child, right? You'll see. And then it works beautifully also at the nervous system level and the muscular level. Because just like if you're leaning on a stool, on a bar, right? You're sitting on a stool, leaning on the bar on an island, and over time this arm doesn't need to hold itself so much against gravity because there's something underneath it, right? That muscularly creates a response. So whatever you support feels the support and very soon doesn't need to be working so hard and it will lean, right? It will just, So that happens throughout the whole body. I see it all the time. If you have pain on one area, we'll tend to brace and protect, and then I put my hands underneath it when I do table work with my clients. And then before long, that shoulder is now resting on my hand because the brain really quickly gets the message. Oh, there's support here. Let me take a rest. Right? So we do that all the time. This compassionate approach is based on supporting first what is present, both from the mental aspect, understanding it, acknowledging instead of fighting or changing, also from the more muscular and sensorial aspect of the nervous system response. You hold and you notice, right? Go hug somebody, and before long, if you're holding them long enough, you see that they go, right? It's that sense of support, and then something becomes available for difference, for a change, if needs to be changed, right? For retraining or creating something new. But first is the support, is the compassionate acceptance. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Livia. Anything else, guys? I said usually 45 minutes because I like to have space for questions. We're here, we're at the time. If you have anything else, let me know. If you have any messages, let me know. If you haven't followed the page, please do. If you want to donate, thank you so much. And other than that, I will see you Friday. I have a next live book for Fridays. I'm intending to stick to Wednesdays and Fridays so we can have a consistent practice and know what to expect and know that you can count on this. If by any chance you have another request for day or time, please let me know and I'll see if I can accommodate. If these times don't work for you, I know we're all in different parts of the world, so this is my preferred time and I'm willing to consider other options so we can stay together, okay? Have a beautiful day. Take your joy into the world. Happy steps. Practice what we learned today. And I can't wait to see you again. All right? Mwah. Many blessings. Love you. Bye-bye, everyone.